Hi everyone, it's another Gabe versus NBN game. I know you're tired of this matchup, but I switched up my deck with a couple of new cards. There's Armitage Code Busting, as you can see in my opening hand, and I'm liking it. I think I'll keep with these new cards because they are. I find myself short on economy a lot of time, having to click for credits. So having Armitage Code Busting is definitely welcome in my deck. Now, I start off by preemptively installing York to avoid any enigmas and to get through pop-up windows for free. And instead, I hit a Draco, which cost me way too much to trace through, so I end up getting tagged and having to remove it on my last click. The corp is very smart. He iced up all 3 central servers at the beginning of the game. I would think that he wouldn't have the money to rest all 3, but seeing that he's using such cheap ice as Draco, I wouldn't be surprised if the other 2 were also very cheap ice like pop-up windows or paper walls, wall statics. So I was very worried that he was gonna shut me out of the centrals completely and leave me without any way to gain money or gain any traction early game, which is what I feared. So to prevent that, or at least to slow the corp down, I had to trash his Howard Jackson. And sure enough, he reshuffled it. No, I trashed it. I think I trashed it. And I drew back up the next turn and tried to run into R&D and ran into a Caduceus. So it's looking very bad now. I'm shut out of both R&D and HQ, the 2 most important servers, and I don't have a single beta in hand. Meanwhile, the NBN Corp is fast advancing his way to victory, almost at 8 credits. That is where he can get his Sand out and score an Astro Script. So I needed to do something, and so what I did was to install Bank Job and to run the Draco. This is something interesting I've learned. What most corps do is that they install single layer piece of ice on the remote, and so to prepare for the next turn where they can install a second piece of ice and an agenda without having to worry about inside job. By putting Bank Job and running the remote, you create a win-win situation for yourself. Either you gain 8 credits, or you force the corp to reveal the piece of ice that's inside, so that you can react to it accordingly. But since it's a Draco, I couldn't break it, and I got tagged from it, which caused me to lose my Bank Job and the Armitage that I have that was half clicked through. So now look at the board state. He has 6 pieces of ice out. 3 of them are res, blocking a central, blocking HQ, R&D, and a remote server. While on my side, all I have is a York and no money. This is looking very, very terrible for me. I have barely gotten out of the starting position, and he's so far ahead already with a healthy amount of credits and very, very protected servers. So at this point, seeing the Caduceus and 2 Dracos out, I knew that I had to get the only Sentry Breaker in my deck, the Femme Fatale. Getting there was no mean feat. I had a Dirty Laundry in hand, but there was no way I was going to be able to run through any of those servers. And Archives, it could be a porous piece of ice, but I can't face check it. I can't afford to face check it with Dirty Laundry. So I had to click up the hard way with no resources left, and I floated the tag. I was pretty sure he wasn't going to do anything horrible to me. But there was close accounts. Close accounts would really suck. But other than that, I just clicked my way up to 10 credits. That's the point where I can special order the Femme and install the Femme. And there was no close accounts, so that was great. I also installed Desperado, although I'm not sure why I did that. I guess I needed to trash cards from my hand because my hand size was getting too big. Desperado was of no use in these few turns because I was not making any runs. There was no way I was going to make any successful runs. So, finally, I summoned my Femme Fatale, and I had to decide which piece of ice to Femme with. Since there were so many pieces of unrest ice, it would be pretty silly to Femme any of them. So I Femmed the already rest Caduceus. Femming a piece of unrest ice is silly because they can simply delete it when they install over it. I'd rather punish the corp by farming a piece of rest ice, knowing that I can save 2 credits every time I run on it. Yes, it does cost 4 for fam to break both subroutines of Caduceus, but only 2 if I fam it. So I start making runs. I target the weaker server, which is HQ. Draco only costs 1, and he doesn't rest the outermost piece of ice, so I start gaining traction by looking at some cards. And more importantly, gaining credits from Gabriel's ability and Desperado. Of course, he patches that up by installing over HQ. So the next most logical choice would be to run the next weaker server, which is R&D. But running through R&D to access 1 card is not worth my time. Since I had 2 Maker's Eye in my hands, I used that to Recce the server. I know that I might impale into a wall of snapping or something, and it turned out to be an Eli, so that was great. Pay 2 clicks, get past it. It's great. I mean, I'm very happy to pay the 2 clicks. Whoa, okay, I saw a close accounts for digging through R&D, even though I had I scored 2 agendas from that Maker's Eye dig. I saw the close accounts, and I need to get rid of the tag that I got earlier from the Draco very, very long ago. I didn't want to lose my credits. So now that I spent a lot of my resources digging through for that 1 run on R&D, I needed to recuperate, so I drew back up hand and I saw 2 account siphons. So now that he has iced up R&D, I need to re-target, in this case back to HQ, since it seems to be the weaker server now. And with account siphon, I should be able to apply some pressure to it. But first, to bring out my Corroder to deal with any walls that might be in my way. So now with this, I can break through any piece of ice on the board except for code gates with strength 4 or higher. In other words, toll booth. That would be the only piece of ice I would be worried about. So this was essentially preparing for my blind run on HQ. There was no way I was going to get him to rest these ice unless I start making painful runs such as account siphons and Maker's Eyes. So let the recce begin. Since he decided to ice up R&D, that only solidified my choice to attack HQ, the weaker server. 2 pieces of unrest ice, let's see what he does. Whoa, okay, yes, I hit the toll booth. At least I forced him to spend the 8 credits to defend his HQ. But of course that means I waste 1 account siphon. No, that's fine, I have another account siphon in hand. Meanwhile, now that he has no credits, I am able to inside job his remote server and score the agenda inside. I know it's probably a Sensen and agenda. He doesn't rest the 2nd piece of ice, probably because there's no money for it, so I get a free access. Although I do have the credits to trash Sensen with Desperado, so that makes it all the sweeter. Whoa, no. Ooh, that's not good. Definitely wasn't expecting the Burnie Smile. Ooh, nasty. And the Sensen. Well, I deliberated for a while, but in the end I decided not to trash the Sensen. I needed the credits. Money was very important to me, because now running through these servers doesn't come at a cheap price. And anyway, he's low on credit, so he cannot take advantage of the Sensen anyway. He needs to get up to at least 8 to score an Astro Script. At this point, I pretty much concede the remote server. Notice I didn't trash Burnie Smile. Yeah, it cost me way too much to get through the server, having to use an inside job, and then needing to it's just not worth it economically to target the remote. So, and he might have more Sensen in hand anyway. So instead I just continue accumulating credits, drawing cards. Hopefully I can draw an inside job or another account siphon, I suppose. My events really dictate my available plays. Although now I do need to have a good buffer of credits before I can even consider running a central server. HQ is locked out for sure. The toll booth is there. The only way I can get past the toll booth now is by drawing the Knight, which I'm digging for, or a Sling Door Beta so that I can activate emergency shutdown on the toll booth. So I draw an Armitage Code Busting. I know I need the money to get into R&D, so That's what I go for. Money. Meanwhile, he scores a bill uncontested. Oh, okay. I didn't draw a knight, but I drew a sneak door beta, which was just as well. As I said, I can shut down the toll booth. And more importantly, dig his hand. But first, I decide to Recce with the Maker's Eye. Knowing that I have 2 in hand, I want to force him to rest all the ice in R&D server. And sure enough, he showed me 2 Elis. Goodness me. That is one hell of a taxing server. Eli costs 4 to break with Corroder. 3 Elis cost 12. The Caduceus cost another 2 more. So that's it for R&D. I wasn't able to break through last turn. So this turn, I surprise him with a sneak door beta on his least protected server, which is Archives. And I spend 3 turns running his hand from Archives. And I managed to score a character assassination. I knew he was pulling agendas in hand, given that he was preparing his server so hard and that he was drawing so many cards. There had to be a lot of agendas clocked up in hand. So being able to pounce on him with a sneak door beta that he didn't when he least expected it was very rewarding. I managed to get 3 agenda points from his hand. And as a side note, after the game, he revealed to me that I actually did manage to snag all the agendas in his hand during the 3 runs, which was very lucky for me. Otherwise, he would be able to score them the next turn. Now he ices up Archives, of course, in reaction, which is the logical thing to do. This is why Gabe is so good. You can place pressure on the weaker server and they are forced to ice it up, otherwise they will remain weak. Anyway, I had no use for digging digging his hand through Archives once anymore. So now my main focus is to get 1 good run on R&D with Maker's Eye, because now I'm on 6 agenda points and he has 3. I need to score that last agenda before he pushes everything out onto Sen. So now I want to see what the latest piece of ice is on R&D. What better way to do it than to Dirty Laundry. With Dirty Laundry, he has to raise it, otherwise he's going to give me a lot of credits and potentially let me see the game-winning agenda. So knowing the Caduceus, I let him trace me because I know I cannot break it even with the 11 credits in my credit pool. And 11 credits and 2 clicks. It will cost me 10 to break through the first 3 pieces of the innermost 3 pieces of ice, and 2 clicks for the Eli. And now the Caduceus adds another 4 cost to it. So basically I need to have 4, 8, 12, 14 credits and 2 clicks to make that 1 run through R&D. In the meantime, he scores an Astro Script, putting him on match point. Now that I have 16 credits, I'm ready to make my swoop in for my final kill, knowing that he didn't ice Archives, put the 6th piece of ice on Archives, sorry, not Archives, R&D, I'm able to run through R&D. So here goes the big breaking spree. I use Femme Fatale to break the end the run subroutine on Caduceus. That cost me 3 credits. I spent 2 clicks to get past the first Eli. I spent 8 credits to get past the other 2 pieces of Eli. And finally, Femming cost 2. Now I'm down to 2 credits. And I need to see 1 agenda out of the 3 cards that I'm about to draw. He dilutes his R&D with the Jackson Howard in his remote. I see the breaking news, and that closes the game. That was one of the most intense games I ever had, and it's definitely one of the closest fought. The final score was 7-5, but he would easily have won next turn because he had a bill in hand apparently. So yes, I realized that criminal events are very good, not just because of their effects, or rather it's precisely because of their effects that they are so good. Their effects are so strong that it forces the court to react to all these events by raising the ice, forcing them to lose money, and forcing information out to the runner, who then, as the runner, I can prepare myself for future runs, whether it be bringing out the knight, bringing out the fairy, whatever it is, bring out the appropriate tools to break through the server, or redirect to another server if the current server is being protected too much. Events such as the Maker's Eye, Dirty Laundry, and Account Siphon do not have to go through successfully to be useful. As long as they force out information from the corp, it's just as well, especially in taxing servers where you cannot afford to make multiple runs. Same thing goes with Bank Job. Being able to force out information about the remote, the content, the ICE over the remote is especially rewarding and makes them think twice about installing an agenda inside the remote, knowing that the runner knows about how to counter the ICE that is currently protecting the remote. I'm discovering more and more ways of playing criminal and discovering the reason why it is such a powerful faction. That's why they say blue cards are always good. I'm starting to learn the wisdom of that. Thanks for watching. That's all I have. Bye.